Hello and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. My name is Will Turntail and I'm a writer and film fan from California. This episode is all about Dredd. And no, not that feeling you get when you know Monday is coming. I'm talking about Dredd like Judge Dredd, the comic book character from the UK that they adapted into a science fiction action movie. I missed this movie for a long time. I'll get into the story all about why in the episode, but like a lot of people, I just wasn't in a hurry to see it. And it's too bad because, well, spoiling things already, it's, in the words of Larry David, pretty good. Before we start, a reminder that making films is hard and you have to respect that. So any criticisms are meant to be constructive. This review will contain spoilers. I'll do my best to call them out for you before they come up. Okay, let's get into the movie. Dredd 2012 review. Karl Urban brings the chin. Judge Joseph Dredd is a comic book character whose rich history dates back to 1977. He's pop culture canon overseas and even ranked number 35 on IGN's Comic Book Heroes list. But when the comic character's 2012 film adaptation, Dredd, came out, I looked the other way. No marketing alive could stamp out the bad memories of 1995's Sylvester Stallone-powered version, Judge Dredd. You know the one. It's the flop with Stallone and Armand Assante's classy discourse on betraying the law. And then there's the dubious casting of Rob Schneider, not him, as Dredd's obnoxious comic relief sidekick, steering a dystopian satire of power and police states into an Odd Couple-style buddy cop movie from hell. This reboot, Dredd, was also a commercial disappointment, hitting $41.5 million at the box office against a $30 to $45 million budget. And who knows how much on marketing, right? But over time, word leaked out, from those that saw it, that this adaptation was worth the time. Still, for more than a decade, I remained skeptical. But when I learned the film's screenplay was written by Alex Garland, a writer of Ex Machina, 28 Days Later, I decided to put the dreaded baggage behind me and give this dreaded refresh a fair shake. So is Dredd a good movie? And a note here, I had to stream the non-3D version, so this review can't speak to those effects. The plot of Dredd. In the near future, a nuclear war reduces the United States to a wasteland. Its survivors cram into concrete jungles called megacities. Judges, street police given the power of judge, jury, and executioner, are the only government, and they're losing the battle to keep order. Judge Joseph Dredd patrols the East Coast's Megacity 1, a population of 400 million. When the chief judge asks Dredd to take new recruit Cassandra Anderson with him on patrol and evaluate her fitness for duty, he accepts. Dredd and Anderson respond to a triple homicide in a block tower called Peach Trees. They arrest Kay for the murders and prepare to take him back to the base for questioning. Hearing of Kay's departure and afraid he will reveal the secrets of her drug empire, the building's criminal overlord, Mama, locks down the whole place and orders the judges to be killed. She threatens pain and suffering on anyone who tries to help. With no escape and no backup, Dredd and Anderson fight for their lives against Mama and the building's criminal tenants. And just to walk you through the cast of this movie here, Judge Joseph Dredd is played by Karl Urban. The Chief Judge is played by Reiki Ayola. Cassandra Anderson is played by Olivia Thirlby. Kay is played by Wood Harris. And the criminal, the main big bad Mama, is played by Lena Headey. And you can read the rest of the main cast here in the transcript. Okay, so what's good about Dredd? Well, the first thing is that Karl Urban does a different kind of chin-up, which is worth 4 points. Playing Judge Dredd is challenging if you're faithful to the source material. In the comics, Dredd rarely takes his helmet off, and if he does, they obscure his face to the reader. So due to the helmet, much of the actor's performance will be in the chin and lip area. Karl Urban overcomes these limits, crafting a Dredd like future Dirty Harry meets RoboCop. Boy, does he have the power chin. And he's stoic behind his helmet, even in the face of danger or examining the remains of bloody carnage. He walks tactfully and measured, with an unwavering gaze and conversation. And his line delivery brings it all together. Speaking flat and breathily, he hints at a disgruntled officer who knows he's only playing whack-a-mole with the city's criminals. It's said the judges respond to 6% of Mega City 1's crime. The costume design also put some visible dents in Dredd's helmet, which was a nice touch. Next, it is Don't Cry to Mama, which adds 4 points. Mama sounds cuddly, but she's far from it. She bit her former pimp's penis off and regularly doles out punishments like ordering people skinned alive. With that kind of brutality, you wonder if Dredd's casting director put up flyers for the role of Mama on the set of Game of Thrones, because she's played by Lena Headey, who leaves her Cersei Lannister behind and portrays the fierce former prostitute turned gangster with intelligent choices. Headey's Mama is a monster. She's equal parts disaffected and dangerous. But there's no Harley Quinn here. She's a calculating gang general who doesn't revel in her nasty business with histrionics. She intimidates with dead-eyed looks and gives orders to kill like she's commenting on the weather. In one standout scene, she holds a curved knife against the bare stomach of her computer hacker while he lies to a street judge. She intimidates the hacker by dragging the blade lightly against his skin from his belly button up to his abdomen. She only stares, but the computer wizard and the audience know that if the judge doesn't buy his story, she'll plunge the knife straight in. The giant scar on her face, blackened front teeth, and washed out hair complete the drug-addled look as Mama gets high on her own product. And then there is the film's fluid pacing, which adds 3 points. Dredd doesn't waste time. Every scene or dialogue advances the plot, and character change happens on the fly. For example, Judge Anderson goes from a squeamish green recruit afraid of her first firefight to a badass psychic sidekick by the end, Dredd himself telling her, "You'll look ready," at the final shootout. The smooth character changes help the movie avoid second act syndrome, where a movie starts with a bang but spends the whole second act just buying time and building characters up for the conclusion. And it doesn't overstay its welcome, with a tidy runtime of 1 hour, 35 minutes. A solid length for the film's scope. And now for the film's dystopian tone, which adds 2 points. Dredd gives us a frightening future where human life isn't held in high regard, even by those trusted to protect it. In the chase scene that opens the movie, the criminals run over an innocent bystander, but Dredd doesn't stop. He notes the supposed death to his command center and continues his pursuit. And after one of the goons shoots up the mall, we see a floor scrubber mopping up the blood and removing the victims' bodies, a matter-of-fact announcement over the loudspeaker that the cafeteria will reopen soon. It's a world indifferent to suffering, a theme that makes a compelling backdrop for Dredd and Anderson's character development. So what did I think could be improved in Dredd? Well, there are a number of things, actually, but all of them pretty small. First, you have to ask, what's Dredd's superpower? And that takes away 2 points. Dredd's weapons are straight from the pages of the comics. He's got his lawgiver, a pistol that fires different ammunition, including napalm, which is promising. And he's got gas and stun grenades. A little unimaginative for a sci-fi film, but okay. But that's it. Really? So his superpower is shooting people 10 feet away in the chest before they can shoot him back. I can appreciate the attempt to stay faithful to the source material. I wouldn't want Dredd busting out karate kicks either, but something novel was needed to raise Dredd's fury up a notch. And then there's more ammo, and I mean more ammo like a question here, and it takes away 1 point. Early in the movie, Dredd cautions Anderson to conserve ammunition, and later he runs out of bullets, leading to trouble. But Dredd and Anderson have shot down piles of bad guys, leaving quite a selection of firearms strewn about. Unless I missed it, at no point does Dredd explain why, in a desperate situation, they can't use the rifles of the villains they just waxed. Perhaps avoiding soiled weapons is a piece of judge code and Dredd lore I'm unaware of. As it stands, it's baffling. Next, it's the film's dull henchman, which takes away a point. None of Mama's gang is unique. No standout lines, no inventive costumes, just thugs here. It's a missed opportunity to add more flavor to the movie. the type of company Mama keeps, or the strength of the opponent Dredd defeats. And lastly, it's the film's lack of trademark sequences, which takes away 2 points. And I'll let you know there is a spoiler alert here, so if you don't want any spoilers, you can use the chapter skip. Raiders of the Lost Ark has the Peruvian temple raid that opens the film. Ronin has its famous car chase. Dredd has scenes of him tactically walking around corners. I'm surprised the talented Alex Garland couldn't write more signature moments in this film because we get some boilerplate scenes. Take the opening chase. On his motorcycle, Dredd runs a car full of criminals off the road and kills the last man with a heat-seeking bullet, saving a hostage. There's nothing outright wrong with it, but it's action you can drop into any cop movie ever. For example, it's similar to the hostage rescue that opens Stallone's Cobra. The film attempts to spice things up occasionally. Mama unleashes her, literally speaking, big guns on an entire floor of the building and calls in help from some corrupt judges, pitting Dredd against a new enemy. But are they holy shit moments? Not so much. So adding it all up, Dredd grimaces and grinds its way to a solid 7 points. On my scale of let's not watch, should I watch, or go watch this movie, that will land it in the should I watch territory. You can appreciate Dredd's attempt to redeem the famous comic hero, or as an anti-hero, on the big screen. Its pacing and premise are fun, and its actors rock their parts. The film is well paced, pulling off an enjoyable popcorn film with some punch, and some of the comic's murky portrait of society and justice is intact. The movie deserved a better take at the box office, as you wonder how much of its underperformance was down to negative associations with the failed efforts of Judge Dredd, 1995. So if you want to relax and have a strong stomach for a bloody action movie, there's a bit of gore in this one, go for it. The Legacy of Dredd. So what's the legacy of Dredd? Well, it holds quite an unexpected one in some ways. For example, did you know the slow motion sound effect is a Justin Bieber song slowed down to 1/800th of its normal speed? So you are experiencing Bieber drugs, I guess? I wonder if they had to pay the guy 1/800th of the licensing cost. A cool fact, according to IMDb's trivia page for the film, Karl Urban insisted on riding the Lawmaster motorcycle himself. Gotta love his commitment to realism. The Lawmaster bikes themselves could not replicate the exact look of the comic because they would then be undrivable. So they were fitted with the largest tires that would still allow them to run. While you think it's cool that Karl Urban was committed to not taking the helmet off during the movie, he kept that commitment off camera, which went down a little differently. It's said he refused to smile or take it off in between takes. It's also said when a cast member made a joke and laughter rolled over the set, he gave the person the, quote, Dredd stare, forcing the person to immediately apologize. Wow, I'd hate to be on the other end of that stare. Despite the credits not working out this way, Dredd may be Alex Garland's sort of directorial debut. Karl Urban told JoeBlow.com that Dredd was actually directed by Alex Garland, not director Pete Travis. And the film's Wikipedia page lists out a more complicated story. It says that the Los Angeles Times revealed Travis was prohibited from the editing process after some creative differences with producers and executives. So Alex Garland took over the editing. And that was odd because he wasn't in charge of filming. But apparently this seems to be all okay. Travis and Garland released a statement that said they agreed on an, quote, unorthodox collaboration before the production had begun. So Garland didn't end up seeking a co-directing credit, even though he had been so involved that he could have gotten one. Those tattoos you see on Mama? Well, some of them are Lena Headey's actual tattoos. The flower on her upper right arm was expanded to her neck and face. And speaking of Mama, she was originally going to be an old lady, but Lena Headey convinced Garland she should be a middle-aged person with a male-hater personality. When the movie was released in the UK, 98% of the theaters showed it in the film's 3D format because the distributors wanted to push that to increase the profitability. Well, the public complained about the lack of choice, and it put many people off from seeing it. Distributors, at least according to this IMDb trivia, learned the lesson and include more 2D showings in this situation now. So a legacy of this film is that it taught studios how to handle 3D releases. Fans have campaigned for a sequel, but it has never been in the works for real, at least until quite recently. Taika Waititi is, at least as of now, attached to a Judge Dredd reboot movie. It said this version will bring a dark, satirical, and more comic-faithful vision and will be written by Drew Pearce. Well, this is not a sequel to Dredd, so I guess no Karl Urban? That's really too bad. I think his performance is spot on, and the guy ages crazy well anyhow. If you've seen the Mortal Kombat 2 trailer where he's Johnny Cage, yeah, I think he could still easily slip back into Dredd. I have nothing against Taika Waititi nor Drew Pearce, but I think this whole thing was in good hands already with the great Alex Garland. But let's be hopeful and see. This is, of course, if this even happens. There was talk as well of Karl Urban coming back to reprise his role, especially when DVD sales of the film were good, but it never materialized. And I've also read somewhere, apologies for forgetting where, that rumor had it there would be a Mega City 1 series with Karl Urban. But yeah, none of this has come to be. One cool thing about this film is that the comic writer John Wagner was involved. It says on the film's Wikipedia page, throughout the production, Garland would send his script to Wagner, who would revise some of the dialogue. Urban would then revise the script during his performance. And I think this is part of why fans, at least from what I can tell, have liked this adaptation. There's an actual dialogue with the comic creator John Wagner, and both the lead actor and writer in particular are committed to doing his work justice. That's why it's such a shame that more Dredd movies didn't come. In fact, Wikipedia says Judge Dredd creator John Wagner, who had been critical of the 1995 adaptation, gave a positive review of Dredd. He said, "I liked the movie. It was, unlike the first film, a true representation of Judge Dredd. Karl Urban was a fine Dredd, and I'd be more than happy to see him in the follow-up. Olivia Thirlby excelled as Anderson. The character and storyline are pure Dredd." Did you know Alex Garland initially wrote the scripts for the film as attempting to adapt actual storylines from the comics? But he ended up going with this day-in-the-life story because it was more grounded and accessible to non-2000 AD comic readers. And that makes the lack of sequels more of a shame. I think that Alex Garland could have adapted some storylines well and pushed the franchise farther in the sequels, making things a lot more interesting. You know, if the first one was just a jumping off point to get into the lore and world of Dredd, and then now we can actually be familiar with him to adapt those comic book stories. A bit of legacy from me. I've only read maybe much of the first volume of collected Judge Dredd works from the 2000 AD. I do hope to read much more of them, but man, if there are not a lot out there. I liked what I read so far, even for something that was going back all the way, I think, into the 1970s. There are plenty of Reddit threads you can check out that will give you a guide to reading the best selected parts of the series, at least according to fans, so that you don't have to try and go swallow the entire canon whole. But I tend to be an obsessive completist, so I think someday I will tackle them all. Though the movies are completely different, fans have pointed out that the setup of Dredd, police trapped in a building, is curiously the same as The Raid, which I covered all the way back in episode 11 of this podcast if you're interested. It's been explained that due to both movies being in production when they were, there was no ripoff at work here. Okay, massive spoiler alert for this last bit, so if you haven't seen the movie, you can use the chapter skip and just skip this part. Okay, still with me? So, if you're nerdy about such things, IMDb's trivia also states, quote, "It takes a human body roughly 12 to 15 seconds to reach terminal velocity when falling, covering a distance of about 500 meters. At terminal velocity, it would take another 9 seconds or so to fall another 500 meters. Dredd states that they are about 1 kilometer up when he throws Mama out the window to her death, meaning she, and the 3 men killed at the start of the film, would be falling for about 25 seconds in real time. Considering that they were all high on slow-mo at the time, they would have felt it as falling for around 40 minutes, since slow-mo is said to slow down a person's perception of time to about 1%. So there you go. That's quite a long goodbye for Mama. Okay, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you'll check out Dredd. And if you are a Judge Dredd fan, what do you think a reboot of the franchise should look like? I think this movie was pretty on par, but maybe it could get more satirical? You can reach out and let me know on Blue Sky using a link in the transcript, or just search for Will Turntail or leave something in these comments. And if you like this episode, would you please take a minute or two to leave me a review or rating on this podcast if you haven't done that already? It will make my week, I promise you. Or if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe. New episodes of this podcast usually come out about a week after the last one. I do not know what next week's episode will be just yet, and a lot of times my previews are dubious anyhow. I said we were doing the odd film Life is Cheap but Toilet Paper is Expensive this week, so maybe that will be next week. But whatever it is, I can guarantee you it's going to be cult and or classic. I hope you'll join me again. This podcast episode is production copyright of Raked Media LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but unintentional. The introduction music is Neon Laser Horizon by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. The exit music was Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. The additional music was Breakdown and Proto-Funk by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Goodbye for now.